was asked if this was poetry, and I said no, it's fiction, because I thought there's only two things, either poetry or fiction, but this is actually a memoir, it's a true story. And then I realized, oh gosh, it's prose. Prose or poetry. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I just figured that out in the truck coming here. So it's prose, but it's memoir, so it's a true story. It's called, Would You Like Me to Fix That For You? Or, Thank You, Sir, May I Have Another? And I'm starting in the middle of it, so I'm under 15 minutes, but you don't miss much. The day of our karate test, I was paired with a tall man from India, Charles. He was lanky and had what seemed a foot arm reach over me. I would have to be careful and stay inside. This may not seem intuitive. It would seem that I would want to get as far away from him as I could. But if I got outside, he would be able to reach me, and I could not reach him. We lined up across from each other. Rei was called, which means to bow, then kumite, which means to begin sparring. It is at this point that I should tell you how much I hate fighting. I was not one of those kids that grew up liking to fight. When we spar in karate class, I dread it. What I like about karate is the exercise and the endorphins it produces, which makes me feel physically and mentally healthy. I also like the art of it. We circled each other looking for openings. We executed several punches and kicks, each blocked. We continued to move and kick and punch. I must have let my hands down because the next thing I remember is that I was reeling backwards, very dizzy. He had popped me in the nose. He was not supposed to do this. He was supposed to stop short, pull his punch, but he didn't. But I am also partially to blame because in the melee of wild punches and kicks thrown, I am supposed to protect my head by keeping my hands up to guard against just this situation, but I must have let my guard down. I reeled backward and landed on my butt, ashamed. Because once you start the fight, you should never quit, no matter if you are hurt or not. But my nose was obviously broken. I reached up to feel it, and it was off to the side. Oh. Damn. Now I was going to have to go to the hospital and have my nose set when I had planned on going to Columbia to visit my friend in the afternoon. I have extensive experience with broken noses. I've had my nose broken twice in high school wrestling. Once my freshman year and once my sophomore year. My freshman year I was on top of a fish. That's what we call wrestlers who are bad. Someone who just flops around on the mat like a fish. And he tried to roll over, throwing his elbow out and catching me right on the bridge of the nose. Crack. All of the blood immediately emptied from my head. The coach yelled, "Umphrey," in what I thought was a sympathetic tone, but then he followed it up with, "Get off the mat." He did not want me to get blood all over the expensive wrestling mat. The nose was not just broken, it was shattered. My mom took me to the hospital. I held a big snowball up to the bridge of my nose. The snowball turned red and looked like a raspberry snow cone. As we walked into the emergency room, I decided to have a little fun with Mom. I pulled away from her and yelled, "Mom, please don't hit me again." She didn't think this was funny. She squeezed my elbow hard and growled under her breath, "That is not funny. I am a teacher in this community. You must not do things like that." I thought it was funny. Of course, until they told me that my nose was shattered and would require an operation to put it back together again. I was checked into the hospital and prepped for surgery, receiving a shot to mellow me as part of the pre-op treatment. I gently floated in my bed. My joy soon turned to fear when I started hearing angels singing hymns. Mom, I cried, don't let them take me. She just laughed. I couldn't understand why. Was this some type of get you back for my earlier crack about don't hit me again? Mom, I'm scared the angels are coming closer. Hush, everything is okay, she reassured me. I don't want to go yet. It was then that the carolers rounded the corner of my door frame and finished Hark the Herald Angels Sing. After the carolers left, the doctor that was to perform my surgery came in and talked about the operation. He was very old and his hands shook. After the doctor left, Mom thought it was funny to advise me that to do this. During the operation, you will need to move your head back and forth to match the shaking of the surgeon's hand. Funny, Mom. I was about as scared as I could be. The senior students circle around those that are sparring. This is to protect the sparrers whose focus is on each other and not their surroundings. They might stumble over something or someone if they were pushed from the center of the room. And the senior students were to protect the crowd whose focus, even though it was on the fighters, were sometimes unaware how quickly the fighting action could change direction and end up in their laps. I should have jumped up and continued to spar. That is what we are taught. We never quit. If you are on the street and someone breaks your nose, are you going to lie down and let them do whatever they intend to do to you? Our teacher lectured us on several occasions. But I did quit. I got to my knees, I was dazed, I cupped my nose with my fingers. The senpais, which means senior students, gathered around me, while my opponent immediately went back to his sparring position, being careful not to lower his guard in case I was faking. This is something else they always taught us to do. When my opponent realized I was hurt, then he took to his knees with his back to me. This is to signify remorse at injuring me. He knew that the other students would help me.